dog. Okay, I didn't see Adam yet.
No.
And I don't believe I see Steve. Oh, here comes Adam. And I do know that we have our guest speaker on the line as well.
And I do have the recording and the live stream running, so whenever you guys are ready, I believe.
Sure. Leah, why don't we go ahead and start? I'm sure Steve will join us.
Sounds good. Then I will call this meeting to order. Roll call: Ann Bayer.
Here.
Steve Bausch. Did we not see Steve yet?
No.
Oh. Mike Thays.
Here.
Is that how you say it, Mike? I've never asked.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. We've all established that Alderman Guzikowski is not present tonight. Heather Ryan.
Here.
Adam Thiel.
Here.
And Nicole Druckery.
Here.
Hi, Nicole. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so approval of the minutes is item 2. The minutes were in our packet. Do I have a motion to approve?
Oh, was that Ann?
Motion to approve.
Excellent. Do we have a second? Thank you, Ann.
Heather Ryan will second.
Heather Ryan seconds. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 And real quick, if you don't mind me interrupting, and we did put in your packet 2 additional meeting minutes that we need signatures for. And then just whenever it's convenient for you, if you could either to send them in to the office or drop them off at the information desk.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Did we have any opposed? Okay, then minutes are approved. Moving to item 3, new business. Welcome to our new Parks Commissioner.
Hi.
So everybody,
Lori, do you want to take it?
Yeah, so everybody, this is Nicole Druckery. She was nominated back in September, but unfortunately nobody ever mentioned it to the person who runs Parks Commission. So I apologize for all the communication errors here, Nicole. We do have everything now for Nicole, and she's now with us. And Nicole, would you like to take a little time to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about, how this all came to be, how you ended up being nominated?
Sure. So my name is Nicole Druckery. I've lived in Oak Creek probably about 10 years now. I'm from Superior, Wisconsin originally, but my husband's from South Milwaukee, so we settled here. We have 3 kids in the Oak Creek School District. We have a high schooler, East Middle Schooler, and a Carrollton grade schooler. And I'd previously served on the Community Development Authority a while back. I am an attorney. I currently work for Brady Corporation. I'm one of their in-house attorneys, and was just looking to get back involved in the community. And so reached out to the mayor and asked to be placed on one of the committees.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Should we go around and have everyone give a little introduction?
I think that's a great idea. Leah, why don't we start with you?
Sure. So I have been on the Parks Commission since I think November or December of 2017. I was appointed to chairperson 2 years ago. And I also have been living in Oak Creek since 2015 or maybe the beginning of 16. I have a son that goes to Forestry, and I also sit on the school board for the district. I'll just go down the list here. Anne, you're next on the roll call.
Sure. Hi, Nicole. Welcome. I do not have all my stats for the Parks Board, but it has to be maybe somewhere around 8 years. My kids were pretty little then. So I grew up in this area and been, as an adult, living in Oak Creek for the last 10 years, but grew up in the area and went to the Oak Creek School District as well. My son is 12 and goes to the Oak Creek West Middle School, and my daughter Eve goes to Forest Ridge. Yep, and that's about it. Welcome.
Thank you.
Steve is next on the, Steve's not here. Mike's next on the list. Mike, you're
Oh,
muted.
we can't hear you, Mike.
Now,
There we go.
okay. Welcome, Nicole. I've been on the Park and Rec Commission since probably 2013. Been from originally in Milwaukee, but moved to Oak Creek in about 2000. I have 2 grown daughters who have gone through the Oak Creek grade school system and high school system, and I love it here. So welcome.
Thank you.
Chris isn't here. So Heather.
Mute.
Trying to find the button. Hi. Nice to see you, Nicole. Heather Ryan, I'm the school district representative on the commission. When Michael Reed stepped down, I took his position on the commission, but that was, I think, right around the Leah's time, like 2017. It seems like it wasn't that long ago, but I guess it has been. So I bring that kind of the school perspective to things. And welcome. It's nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Adam.
Hi, welcome. I've been on the commission for about 2.5 years. I've lived in Oak Creek for 7. I've got 2 daughters who are 5 and 3. And so, 2.5 years ago, as they were, starting to get older and use the playgrounds and some of the public space, I wanted to try to get involved and just be as involved in the community as I could be to help their experience as they grow up.
That's all of the commissioners. Would the staff like to go around and introduce themselves?
Sure.
Jeff or Ted jumping in.
My name is Lori Miller. We've been talking back and forth. I'm the zoning administrator and planner. I actually was just hired by the city a year and a half ago. So I'm relatively new to the city, but I've done a lot of parks planning in my past jobs, a little bit of engineering light, I like to call it, but mostly all city planning. So, and then we also have Ted Johnson with us. I'll have Ted take it away.
Hi, can you guys hear me? I got headphone stuff in. I didn't know if it worked or not. I don't know. I'm the Public Works Director. Public Works takes care of the parks. We currently have 23 parks that we take care of in the city. I've been with the city about 7 years right now, and it's been exciting watching the city and the park systems grow. It's nice to have new faces on the commission, and so welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
I believe Jeff's also on the line.
Yeah, these two really take back the history here with Oak Creek. They're a wealth of knowledge.
Hi, Nicole, and welcome. I'm Jeff Wendt. I'm a park maintenance supervisor. I've been in that position for 18 years. And 10 years before that, I worked for the street department. So I have 28 with the city.
Nice to meet you.
So that's the whole
And you
thing.
and you play softball with my neighbor, I think, Tim.
Tim?
Yep.
Excellent. You said your last name was pronounced Druckerai?
Druckrai.
Druckerai.
Yep.
Sorry, I mangled it when we introduced you initially.
That's okay. Everyone does.
Druckerai. Okay. So then next item B, informational. We have a guest. Do we have a guest speaker here today?
Yeah, Kevin, do we have Nicole on the line with us, or Nikki?
Excellent.
Yep, Nicole, you should be able to unmute yourself, and then just so we have it, your name and address for the record too.
Okay, hi, my name is Nikki Turley, and my address is 936 West Glen Crossing Court here in Oak Creek.
She's my neighbor and good friend.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, Nicole.
Thank you.
You can go ahead and start, unless Lori, you want to do some kind of introduction to the report.
Keep putting myself on mute. I apologize. Yeah, I do have a little background information to provide before Nikki joins, starts speaking on behalf of this proposal, just so that everybody is aware of the park that we're talking about. Can everybody see the screen that I'm sharing right now? Yes, okay, perfect. So Nikki's here today to talk to us about a sand volleyball court proposal for Willow Heights Park. As you can see here, just a rough estimate of what it costs for a typical sand volleyball court is $20,000. The Willow Heights Park, I have a list of the amenities that are currently on site. Quite a few, as you can see. It's a really popular park. We have a lot of new development directly south of it with the Glen Crossing subdivision and more homes to come in that neighborhood too. But one of the important things also to note is not only is this a very active location, but it's also a bit of a sensitive area too. We have some wetlands and then a large floodway area running alongside of it. So just a real brief background of what this park is like. So with that said, Nikki, if you'd like to go ahead and speak on behalf of this proposal.
Oh, sure. Thank you for taking the time and inviting me to come meet with the commission. I've lived here on Willow, my house abuts the park, on the Willow Heights Park. I've been here since 2005. And I'm a volleyball coach for the Junior Knights volleyball team for the 7th grade. And my younger daughter also will be starting. She's in 4th grade right now. But over the summer, we had been trying to find some sand volleyball courts to play at. And the one we normally go to is Meadowview. And it had been, there was a coach there who kind of stayed all day. So then we would go around the city to other sand volleyball courts. And we realized that most of the courts, it seems in Oak Creek, have a men's height net instead of the women's height net. And it's about 6 inches higher. And it actually really does, it's really hard to play with a girls team. But we walk around our park all the time, and there's some pickleball courts. And the pickleball players were telling us, well, you should contact the commission, the park commission, and see if they would build one here, since they build pickleball courts for us. So we've been living here long enough to see that to the east side of the current basketball courts, that used to be paved and be, I don't know if it was extra pickleball court or what it used to be, but it used to be paved. And then one of the tennis courts got converted into a pickleball court. And then they broke up all the concrete to the east of the basketball court and had put in grass. So we thought, wow, it would be a really, really nice spot to have an extra volleyball court there. We're very active in our neighborhood and in the community, and walking through the neighborhood, I asked all the neighbors, who would be in favor of it. And everyone seemed so on board, even helping. They would help fundraise. Everyone wanted to help maintain it and rake it and keep it clean. We always help keep the park clean as it is, because it's kind of like right in our backyard. But it would really be helpful with the popularity of volleyball right now. And there's an Oak Creek club team that is also a girls club, volleyball club team that has 3 different teams right now. And with COVID, it's so much better to practice outside than inside. And I just thought, well, it doesn't hurt to give it a chance to bring it to a committee and see if I could make a proposal and try to, live the dream and get a volleyball court right in the park. And we would use it all the time.
Yeah, and to add to that, because Nikki and I have talked about this, Nikki, even when talking with some of our neighbors who've been in the neighborhood even longer than us, they apparently had tried to put forth a proposal to get a volleyball court in our park before. So I think this isn't the first time it's come to the board. And the park just did, like Nikki mentioned, they had just repaved our basketball court and redid the tennis court. So they added in a pickleball court. And then it was just the most interesting thing. There was like this perfectly square area that they kind of left unseated for a while. It would be the perfect place for a sand volleyball area. It really was. And I think, did they eventually seed it in, Nikki?
They did. And I wish we had brought it up back then too, because it was just bare dirt for a rectangle. But yes, they used seed, and you can still kind of see where the newer grass is.
Yep. Yeah, it's like a perfect little offshoot from the basketball court.
So it was just to the east of maybe Jeff could speak on this, but
yes.
So this was located just to the east of where the basketball court was.
Yeah, that used to be old pavement that was broken up, and then when they redid the course, they just didn't put asphalt back in there. They just took it out and put dirt and planted grass there.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know if that would be big enough. You'd need the 50-foot by 80-foot footprint for that volleyball court, and I don't know if those pine trees are going to be in the way. I didn't take a measurement. I don't know how big that area is over there. So that would
I don't know, Nikki, if you had an opportunity to measure it. There are some interesting trees that are there that do seem to entertain some of our youth after hours.
Oh, that kind of entertainment.
So whether or not those trees need to stay is another item to review.
Jeff, do we sometimes have issues with vandalism in that type of activity? Commonly,
I think I know the tree she's talking about. There's like a group of cedar trees that are together, and you can see like the underneath is all worn off, and that might be a place where they're congregating. But I don't believe those are the trees that you're seeing to the east of these courts. Those are big
arborvitaes. I'm thinking of the arborvitaes that are there. I couldn't think of the word. Yeah.
Yep.
You're thinking of different ones though?
Arborvitaes are the same as cedars.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. So just to let you all know, I did do a needs analysis on this really quickly. So as you can see on the screen, we have a set of standards that we use in our Parks and Open Space plan. So just for our new commission member, and then also for Nikki, who's joining us. And so the standards call for 0.40 or 0.4 volleyball courts per 1,000 residents. And we have 36,000 residents at the time. So this would result in a need of 14 courts. I was a little confused by the Parks and Open Space plan. So this is another thing maybe Jeff can help me clear up. But according to the 2013 Parks and Open Space plan, we have 9 courts in the city, which is clearly short of the standard. I could only find 7 of the courts, and those courts are all sand. Does that seem about accurate, Jeff?
Yeah, there are 7 courts that are sand courts. The other 2, I don't know if they're over asphalt, just painted lines on asphalt that people can bring a temporary net out to. That
Okay.
might be on, that could be included on school district property too, if one of their playgrounds have the lines painted on.
That's what I was thinking too, that it's probably maybe a school facility and then we just don't have it on a map. So, okay.
Yeah, and of those 7, I would think a majority, I think, are probably men's height too, because we've tried 4, and only the Meadowview one that we found was low enough for us to play on. And that one's really, really popular, and just so it's hard to get.
Chicks is kind of a stupid name account, but Barstool is bigger.
I wouldn't see why. I mean, Jeff, you could chime in here, and I'd never say never. Right now, I don't necessarily know as I have the funding to put in a court at Willow Heights Park. But again, I wouldn't say we wouldn't do that. But in the meantime, I don't see why we couldn't adjust a net if you guys had a court that you wanted to play on, so that it would be at the correct height. I mean, I believe that the 7 courts that we have right now, the majority of them are, to be perfectly honest, are underutilized.
Mhm.
So I don't know why we couldn't do that for you in the future, if we can't get a court built here like right away.
Thank you. That would be
Yeah.
that would be great and wonderful too. I had called over the summer about that, up to get the one at the Chapel Hills Park adjusted to go lower, and it is different because it's outdoor. It's on chain, and whoever I called at I don't know who I talked to over the summer, but they said they were not adjustable. I don't know why not, but they looked like, personally I couldn't adjust it either because it was on chain. But whomever I did talk to said that they were just how they were and they could not be adjusted.
Yeah, they're permanent eye bolts that are welded to the pole. I mean, there could be other eye bolts welded at a lower level to be put on and adjusted if we wanted to do that and leave it at that lower level permanently. Did you try Johnstone Park, Nicole? I think that net is a little lower.
No, I did not.
Here, and I can also provide a list of all those available volleyball courts, and we should, as staff, go and maybe just check out what the heights are and see if we can just amend the website, the city website, to note on these volleyball courts if they're at what regulation height they're at. And that would definitely help out the public if they're using it, especially for this type of purpose. But we do have sand volleyball courts at Cedar Hills, Chapel Hills, Forest Hill, Meadowview, Oakleaf, South Hills, and Riverton Meadows. So.
And actually, for those who aren't aware, if you look in the Acorn, there's actually a nice chart in the Acorn, and it shows all the amenities that are at all 23 of the parks, at least the larger items.
And just out of curiosity, to says my own curiosity, what is the season like for sand volleyball? What month does it go to? And how often are the games played? Is this something where we could just have some set places for that you can rely on to make sure that it's at that regulation height that you guys can access?
I think the nets normally go up maybe after Memorial Day, normally, I believe. And then we've even used it all September. There were 4 nights that we had we reserved it in the evening to just make sure that we could actually have it, because it is very popular. So we reserved it, but it actually rained all 4 nights. So we still have a balance of, funds to use next summer, but it does go pretty long. As long as the weather is decent, people will be out there to play.
Is this something too where would you ever need it prior to Memorial Day weekend?
No.
No.
I mean, it's great if the weather's good. I think as soon as the weather is great, people would use it. I think our sand leagues normally start the first week of June.
Okay.
So it is nice to have it early, but Wisconsin weather is kind of, you know, we understand.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so when your proposal came in, Jeff and I were reviewing, the idea of putting one in here. And we're just trying to figure out how we could possibly even shoehorn it in without disrupting the baseball diamond, getting it too close to that path. And we cannot put it in a wetland or the floodway. So that's really what was challenging about the proposal from our end. But I was also going to mention to our Parks Commission members, something else that we have the agenda a little bit later on is the Abbottshire Master Plan, and trying to pick a project from that plan or 2 or 3 projects. And one of the items on that master plan was a sand volleyball court next to the future pavilion. So even if we couldn't possibly make it happen here, there is another solution that's essentially a mile down the road then for her. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
How would we request, I guess, that whenever the plans for that sand volleyball pit or the bids or whatever are created, that there's an adjustable pole structure as part of that proposal, so that we're not saying, well, this one's for women and this one's for men. Like, there must be industrial strength volleyball poles that would have some kind of ability to make, have the players adjust the height.
Maybe
could we consider putting that into our bid?
Because I know that that it would be nice to be able to have both men and women's at the same volleyball court and increase the utilization, as Ted said, that they are right now pretty underutilized. But perhaps doing that kind of adjustment to them would help.
To adjust all of the court, all of the nets to be able to be men's or women's height.
Accommodate both.
That would be wonderful.
It really isn't any fun to play volleyball when the net's too high.
Right.
It's really not.
Jeff, is that a possibility on all of them?
Especially for little girls.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Jeff.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I had a thermal shutdown of the computer, so I was gone for the last 5 minutes, so I don't know what I missed.
So we were just chatting about the possibility of is it possible to basically convert all the volleyball courts that we have in the city just to have that extra weld in there so the nets are adjustable? And would that do you think that would help increase the utilization rate of these volleyball courts too?
Well, I don't know if you're going to be able to adjust them. I think you're going to have to leave them set at one thing. That's just how you set them up.
Sure.
We just don't have we don't put the hardware on to have them adjustable.
Okay.
I don't know how you're going to keep everybody happy that rents those pavilions, because everybody's going to want different heights all the time. We just set it at a standard, whatever the standard height was.
The suggestion that I made while you were off, Jeff, was to when we put in the new, if and when we determine we're going to put in the sand volleyball pit at Abbottshire, that we might ensure that we invest in poles that have an adjustable feature. I mean, and certainly there is 2 different standards, and so for us to decide that the standard is the men's standard is problematic.
Yeah, I mean, that's an option, but I mean, in my experience, anything that's adjustable and left for the public to do doesn't last very long, especially in a public park.
And yeah, I thought that might be the case, but I wonder if, even if there's just a pole where you can buy that has the two heights, and then, they can be moved if somebody actually makes a reservation.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a process to go there because they're all tied up and we got turnbuckles and they're tightened down pretty good to stay where they are. I mean, to be moving them around back and forth would would be a little bit of a process. We could certainly set up one or two for different heights, I think, if that would help.
I think that would definitely be a good start. To get
What is the difference, Nicole, between the men's and the women's height?
6 inches.
Oh.
You
Okay.
cut out for me a little bit, Nicole. Could you say it again?
6 inches.
Sorry, I looked it up today and it's 6 inches. Were you able to hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes, I
we
heard
did.
that.
Okay, thank you.
Does any of the commission members have any other questions for this proposal?
I was just going to offer to an additional comment that women's volleyball is becoming very popular as far as facility rentals within the school district. So I'm sure like the club activity and things is growing in popularity, especially for the women in the community. So a sand volleyball court would make a lot of sense. And Nikki, I can appreciate too, like during COVID to be outside, but even in the off season to be able to play on sand volleyball courts would be nice, especially since the club teams are growing in popularity.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you.
Anyone else with any questions or comments?
I guess
Go ahead, Leah.
I was just say, if there was really the desire for the community to donate funds, would the city or Parks Department want to turn down that investment by the neighbors if they really were prepared to, provide the funding that was needed to do it? And I know it's kind of a stretch and we don't really know, and I'm not asking for any, official yes or no here. I'm just like, is there some kind of like fundraising assessment that would need to be done to understand whether there is a donation being offered here that would make a difference?
I believe we talked a little bit about this when it came to the skate park and expanding it past a phase. And the position from the assistant city admin at the time was the city could not do the fundraising themselves. It would have to be done through a separate organization, but it couldn't be represented by the city. So it would have to be done basically as a donation. And I would want to go and clarify again, because we just went through a little bit of a leadership change too. So let me confirm with them if that's still the path that they would be interested in taking when it comes to donations.
And you had something you wanted to say before.
I think, it's really nice to have all these options with the other parks too, but like to Heather's point, it is a growing, I don't know what need, but, interest in the community. And so I don't know what the budget is or how it's proposed to the board, but is that still in consideration to, what else would be needed in terms for it one to be put into this park in particular?
I think that site needs to be checked out first to make sure it will fit there. And then if any of those trees need to come down, if everybody is okay with that. Because that probably is the only place in that park that volleyball court could go would be east of those basketball courts.
Because there's too much of a slope on the back side of the park, correct?
Yeah, that sled hill's there, and I don't know if it can go in that wetland.
No, it can't.
Yeah, I think the spot that was there seemed okay, but we could take a look. If you decide to come, Jeff, we can meet you out there too.
Okay, yeah, I can meet you anytime. I can bring the measuring tape and we can see exactly where that's going to be, because that footprint is a little bit bigger than a regular volleyball court. You have to go outside the size of a volleyball court. So it's 50 feet wide by 80 feet long.
And Nikki, were you looking specifically for a sand volleyball court, or, I mean, could it be on grass?
You know, I haven't even thought about that. I didn't know grass was an option. I've just seen the sand courts, but I'd be open to anything. And I'd be so happy to help maintain whatever, if something was put in our park, because right now I take the rake over to the other sand court, and it would just be so wonderful. So at least you could count on me to help with maintenance and taking good care of it.
Well, I think for staff, our next steps is if the Parks Commission would like to make a motion to consider this to be investigated further, if you choose to approve, we could, get Jeff out there to help at least measure it and try to see if there is a possibility that we could somehow figure a way to get it in there without interrupting the baseball diamond, which I have a feeling it looks like it's so far away. That shouldn't be an issue, right?
That won't be an issue at that spot. No, that would be the only place in that park I think that could go.
And I don't see any harm in removing those trees to get this in here, especially considering
It might be an improvement, quite honestly. You might upset some teenagers, but
yeah. So with that said,
Would anybody like to make a motion?
I move for, Heather Ryan moves to have the Parks Commission further investigate, the city investigate the possibility of installing a sand volleyball court in the park here. If not here, maybe Willow Heights. Thank you.
Have a second?
Ann Byer will second.
Okay, all in favor of the motion to direct the park staff to investigate the possibility of a sand volleyball pit, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that motion has passed. Nicole, thank you for bringing this topic to our attention and for being such a great advocate for your community.
Thank you so much.
And we will hopefully have some more information for you sometime soon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're all wonderful. Thank you so much for all you do. We love our park. We use our park so much, and it's beautiful. So thanks for everything you all do. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So Leah, would you like to, I guess we'll start going on to the next.
Yep, so informational staff report, item C.
All right, so let's get this started. So just kind of quickly go down the line of all the projects we have going on right now. Abshine's skate park project, we've sadly encountered some unexpected delays. Some additional analysis needed to be done due to some drainage issues that are occurring on one portion of the slab. And we are still waiting on the final bid package from the consultant. For the last month, I keep hearing it's going to come in a week. So I'm hoping this is the week that we will get it. And then we can start putting it out for going through the process to start putting it out to bid. So that is Abshine Skate Park project. In exciting news, the playground replacement at Manor Marquette Park is complete. I have a couple pictures up on the screen of what this looks like. The color scheme is beautiful, I think, my personal opinion.
A great time of year in there.
And then as you can see, we do have a accessible wing that was added on as Jeff and Ted had promised. So, and then this is Riverton Meadows. And I believe this one was just recently put in within the last few weeks, right, Jeff?
Yeah, they were within a couple of weeks of each other. They were both complete within a month. They were all disassembled and complete by, I think, the end of, or the middle of October, it was all done.
Yeah, I swung by there the other day and it was pretty hopping. So it's definitely getting its use already. So, all right. So the next thing we have is the Oak Leaf Trail extension. I'm sure anyone who's driven west or sorry, east of City Hall, you can see how much work they've been just cruising along on it. They've got a lot of the gravel down. They're working on the bridge over the creek, which is just north of Forest Hill. So things are really happening over there. And my understanding from Milwaukee County is that they still expect that the project will be completed basically in early summer of 2021 if the weather holds out. So cross our fingers. So that, moving along to the Ryan Road Neighborhood Park Project. We probably made the most strides in this project in the last few months. We've been doing a lot of meetings with Milwaukee County Parks. We're trying to establish the lease and maintenance agreement, pinpoint park boundaries. Milwaukee County is going to work with us to create a menu of amenities that we can possibly choose from and have the neighborhood choose from that would be appropriate for the characteristics of that land. There's a lot of wetland in there. And we do unfortunately have some encroachment issues with some neighboring properties. So we, this 2 weeks ago, we did have the park surveyed and we're gonna have to start dealing with those encroachment issues probably in the next 3 to 4 months. Someone chose to put in a very large garden. It looks like it's very loved. And then a lot of trees have been planted on the property too, which we suspect that chances are the neighbors that did that are trying to block the view of Amazon. So we do need to be very sensitive and compassionate about it because the Amazon project did make an impact on that neighborhood. So we want to make sure we're doing the right thing in that situation. So staff anticipates that we're going to have a lease or maintenance agreement. We're not really quite sure how we're going to go about how this agreements can be worded, but we're hoping that this will be approved by the Milwaukee County Board and the City Council by spring of 2021. And then we're going to try to quickly roll into that public outreach and start working on hearing the feedback from. So Orchard Hills Micro Park, I have no updates for this. The baseball field improvement proposal that we heard back in May. I really was hoping that Steve would join us so that we could have a conversation about this, but staff has identified several concerns with the proposed park, the proposed locations, Johnstone, Carrollton, Riverton Meadows. And again, it was something that we already kind of touched on in those meetings, neighborhood impact, parking issues. There's drainage issues on some of the fields. And on top of that, two of the fields were actually owned by Milwaukee County and then are leased to the city. But we do realize that there is a big demand for this. There's a reason why this topic keeps coming up year after year after year is that, you know, we do need some more baseball fields that allow for competitive play. And so we've been trying to investigate other alternatives to solve this problem. I can't really release what they are yet, but I'm hoping to still keep getting movement on it. I have had an ear of a couple aldermen so far, so we'll see how that all plays out. One of the other issues we have with the baseball proposal is staffing. So the baseball season starts so early. It normally is in April and runs through, I believe, September. But we only have a full-time maintenance person and a part-time maintenance person during April and May. And then we get to onboard all our summer help in June. So sadly, the issue is that April and May, with all the rainfall, it takes a very long time to get those fields prepped and ready for gameplay. Right now, we just don't have the staffing for it. So we're trying to find a solution on how can we get either additional staffing or contract out, or if we can get the ball club to somehow help in a way to overcome that challenge. So this is something that we're still continuing to explore. Hopefully we'll have more movement again at the next meeting.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Do we have any sort of relationship with Oak Creek Little League? And I mean, would their fields be of use to us?
Yes, in fact, we do have a relationship with them. We own the land.
I used
So
to sit on their board.
yeah, so we back in the 60s, I believe Jeff might be able to correct my memory of what year it was, but in the contract that how that complex came up is that the city don't basically allow them to use the land. We lease it to them. It's I think $1 a lease a year. And so and then they put the complex in, and in the agreement, it does say that the city can you still use that area or use the land. However, since that language was put in, the complex was built. So we're still also figuring that out to see if that could possibly be a solution. I don't know how active the Little League is and if they have any availability. I don't know if they'd be interested in entertaining another organization renting out that space to help. I mean, everybody's got expenses, and right now I know so many of our recreation programs are really hurting in the face of the pandemic. So if we could find some kind of mutual agreement and work together on this, it would solve a lot of problems for many people.
I think they'd be interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know I have a phone call then to make.
Eric Thorson is who I'd contact.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I will be talking to you tomorrow if you.
Okay, sure.
Because it really would be incredibly helpful. I know you weren't here for that proposal, but they were really looking to have 3 locations and approximately 80 games during a season. Because right now that league has to go outside the city boundaries to find rentable space. So, all right. Well, maybe we just made magic happen. So. All right, good. Something else that has been going on is the recreation department restructuring. I have not heard any progress on this yet. So I guess we're just going to stay tuned and see how that all plays out. The 5-year capital improvement plan for the parks. Ted, I apologize. I put it down as in progress, and I'm assuming that hasn't changed, correct? Maybe Ted stepped away for a little bit.
Oh, I'm here. I just.
Oh, you are? Okay.
What I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question?
Oh yeah, no worries. The 5-year capital improvement plan for parks. I wrote down in progress. I forgot to ask you. I apologize.
I couldn't recite it off the top of my head.
Okay.
But we do have a 5-year plan that we submit for replacement and different things every year within our budget. So
okay. So I think the last meeting when we talked about it, it was just something that you were still working on. So this has been submitted then for next year, correct?
For next year's budget, yes.
Okay, sounds good. Parks and open space plan, we're still in progress. Some miscellaneous items. So I'm in a bit of a quandary, everybody. It seems that right now the city clerk has a list of when everybody's terms end. And surprisingly, it shows that everybody's term ends in April. So we're going to see. I hope everybody still wants to continue on with the Parks Commission. But we will go in after that April date and we see if there's any changes. Hopefully not. Afterwards, we do want to bring in our city attorney to talk about the guidelines, policies that a commissioner should adhere to. I think it's something we should have as a good reminder. I know I would enjoy listening to what she has to say. This is something that she does normally on an annual basis for our plan commission and city council. But we, for some reason, I guess, have not had it for the Parks Commission in quite a long time. So it is long overdue.
So Lori?
Yeah.
Kind of along with that, depending on the direction that we go with the rec department, the Parks Commission would be involved as an resource for the rec department merger potentially.
Okay.
And with that may come some additional members, like representatives from the school district. So it may
Okay.
change a bit. That was part of those conversations early on.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't heard from Andrew Vickers, like you said, we haven't heard a lot. My understanding is that the overall merger conversation is going to be going to City Council next week, Tuesday. But I haven't heard from Andrew Vickers kind of where we're at with that. And I emailed him today just to get an update. But with that, the timing would work well with April for
Perfect.
terms, because it would tie into that. So we would probably have some additional representation there.
And I should also elaborate, part of the reason why it's an issue is that we're supposed to, according to the way the Parks Commission was set up, we're supposed to have those years staggered. So there's never a large possibility of a turnover. It should always have some consistency of every year somebody's term renews. Sadly, I think just from having a couple of vacant spots for an extended period of time, it's kind of goofed it up a bit. So I'm trying to find a solution on how to get us back to having those terms rotate the proper way. So hopefully I will have a solution for that by the end. I've been working with the mayor and Catherine Reske on it. So one of the conversations that we had in the last meeting was city-owned parks. Our chairperson, Leah, requested that we have a list of county-owned parks leased to the city. And so I compiled that list and put it into your document. So we have Camelot Park, Kickers Creek, Johnstone, Riverton Meadows, and then the future Ryan Business or Amazon Neighborhood Park would be one of them. So that is that list. So final thing on the staff meeting is the next meeting date. The next meeting date is scheduled tentatively for January 14th. Unfortunately, I have a conflict with it. I am going in for a medical procedure, so I will not be able to be there that night. So I am hoping to see if we can work together and establish another meeting date for January. So I suggested either Thursday, January 7th, Monday, January 11th, Wednesday, January 13th, and Wednesday, January 20th. I'll let you, on your own time, check your schedules, and I will send out a doodle poll just to see what works for everybody and then have that rescheduled. So I hope everybody understands, and I apologize for any inconvenience for this. So that's
one comment I just would make about that is that the school board almost always meets on Mondays.
Got it.
So I would recommend, since we have multiple representatives from the district, that we probably would want to pass on the Monday options.
Okay, sounds good. And Tuesdays in general don't work because Alderman Guzikowski is required to be at the Plan Commission, or we also have Common Council on Tuesday nights. So that's the only reason why I wasn't able to suggest those dates. So. All right, well, yes, so please expect to see a doodle poll out probably by tomorrow morning. I'll have that sent out. All right, last item.
Could I make one request or suggestion, sure, or maybe it's just something we can discuss and that would be enough. Thank you for putting the list together of the county-owned parks leased to the city. Is there something in writing, and maybe this will be in the document that I know has been being worked on for the Parks Commission, but is there maybe a summary of exactly what it means for the city to lease county-owned parks? Like what are the limitations? What are the benefits and challenges to that? And I don't mean like some long, detailed, formal written thing, just kind of a synopsis.
I mean, I could provide what little bit that I know right now is that the county has always been very proactive in maintaining parkland, especially when it comes to sensitive areas. So they have a pretty large portfolio of properties throughout this county. But the county has also looked for innovative ways basically to improve those areas. The county does not have the money to really maintain all that park space. And so they do enjoy finding those kind of partnerships with different communities. I know Greenfield has quite a few leased parks from the county that I have worked a little bit with. And so this is just always looks like a win-win for both the county and the city to provide more amenities for the neighborhoods, the local neighborhoods, but yet let the county still maintain that land and protect those natural resources. That answer the question, or did I?
That's a wonderful start. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Well, then I will try to get a little more detail for you. So let me just write that down. Yeah, so I mean, I can also expand a little bit too. Most of those county owned parks that are leased, we do have like it's an auto renewing term on many of them. So I know one that we've been talking about in particular, it's every 26 years it will auto renew, and it auto renews up to 3 times. So we own whatever amenities we put on it, but they own the land.
Yeah. When you say that they help protect the natural resource, what do you mean? Like, do you mean like they have their arborists come out and care for the trees, or do you mean that they, you know, have the documentation necessary to prevent the kind of encroachment that you were talking about before?
So a lot of their amenities or a lot of their parks are protecting shorelands, creeks, any natural riparian type spaces. If they know that there's sensitive habitat lands, Folk Park would be a great example of that. So they try to accumulate that land and maintain it and make sure that it's not available for development is probably one of the biggest things that they fight against, is to make sure that there's no development occurring on those lands.
Leah, just I'll chime in a little bit on this. Any of the parks that we lease from Milwaukee County, other than having a say so on what we do, and basically we're required from the lease to inform them anytime that we make changes, add things, stuff like that, and then they want to have their input in on it. But other than that, they don't provide us any assistance with maintenance or upkeep or anything like that. I would imagine if we had questions or something like that, I mean, we could collaborate with them, with their foresters, arborists and stuff like that. But that being said, we've got arborists on our own staff. Mm-hmm. So that usually doesn't occur that often.
For the Amazon project, we now have access to their landscape architect. And then there's an environmentalist that's been joining us on our meetings. And so it's more of a high level type planning help that they've been helping with than more on the ground maintenance type activities.
Cool, thank you. That fills out my picture.
Okay. All right, so moving right along. Something we've been waiting on for a couple years, the Abbottshire Master Plan. We started with the skate park, and since we're coming to that, going through the bid process, it's about time that we start looking in the horizon and seeing what projects we should really start exploring for our next steps for this, to fulfill this master plan. So what I would like to ask the commission to do tonight is, I hope you had an opportunity to review what those proposed projects were. I know many of you were involved in the development of that plan, but I would like to see kind of take a litmus of what projects are in that master plan that really get your blood pumping, and that you would like to see get done as our next project. So Is there maybe two projects that somebody would like to speak up and say
Is
that?
there any indication as to how much money we have to spend in this first project? Because I mean, that's a huge factor for my own prioritization is, you know, how much do we have if we only have $200,000, and it doesn't make much sense to, you know, say that I want to prioritize the $2 million thing. So is there a sense of the flow of dollars that we have access to for this prioritization discussion?
Sure. So I was trying to get any kind of acknowledgement from our admin to help facilitate this conversation. And my understanding is that we don't have necessarily any limit right now. It's just more of what do we think we want to push forward, and then let's start doing the legwork to see what kind of budget we can get for this. When it comes to the pavilion project, this is something that we probably could actually piecemeal and do it in bits and pieces to help get that achieved. And then some of the other items like the disc golf course expansion, yes, it's going to cost money, but that obviously is going to be significantly less than, you know, a parking lot expansion. So I don't know. Sadly, I wasn't involved in the Amichai Master Plan development, so I don't know which ones were really high on everybody's list.
I think now would be the time. I was gonna say now is the time to talk before Steve gets on board, because if you ask Steve, we all know what his response is going to be. It's the baseball diamonds, right? Yeah. But I think there were some other things that it was funny how you said got our blood boiling or got us excited, right? Because I think there were a couple of other pieces of that we all really kind of like. The beer garden, the water splash pad, the opportunity for adults to be there while their children were playing, I think was the one that kind of kept coming up. And the expansion of the disc golf seemed kind of like a natural, because it's already so well used that an expansion of that seemed like it was a good natural transition.
Yeah, and you know, for the disc golf, we've had people contacting us asking when we're going to expand it because they want to hold tournaments there.
Right.
So, and that actually just occurred a few months ago, which we didn't even think anyone was doing tournaments this summer. So,
but you can do it outside, and you can socially distance, and you can have fun, right? So, those were some of the big ones that I think. The skate park was another one that, again, it was a natural amenity that was there. It was kind of unique that if we can get going on that, that seemed like another good one.
Is that already underway? Is that already?
The skate park is about to go out to bid as soon as we can get the final bid package from the consultant. So Ted can chime in here, but I mean, I'm assuming that we would start breaking ground probably this spring.
Depending on when we can get the bid package from the, they had gave the bid or the drawings to their civil engineer, and we were hoping to have them already. Yeah. We'll bid it out this winter, and I certainly think that we would be able to start on it in the spring.
I think that's a big one. I mean, is the baseball diamond, are we even equipped to put that in at this time? I thought we were needing to get the adjacent land.
According to the master plan, it would require getting the property to the south.
Yeah. So I don't even know. I mean, we could all say, yes, let's do baseball, but I don't even think it's physically possible at this point.
No, and I do think we need to stick to the phase 1 type projects if we can. Those seem like they were the most popular, where they would fit, you know, more needs in the city.
Yeah, I would say, you know, obviously the disc golf seems to be a hit, and you're obviously getting a lot of interest. And I mean, just my thoughts. the sand volleyball court, not just because Nikki was here too, but honestly, I think like you mentioned the beer garden and everything, I think that would be a really nice amenity for that the type of crowd that's going to be there. And I mean, whatever everyone else thinks, but the entry, right? Didn't we talk about,
Yes.
it's very unclear, the entryways right now. So I do think that that really sets the tone of the park too.
Yeah, and I
So-
really appreciate the consultant's vision, or the vision actually that you guys all put together for it, with a small little plaza and some beautiful signage, and just making it
Yeah.
much more appealing to come in there.
You almost
Is-
drive right by it sometimes and
Yeah,
like, oh, that was the entrance. Yeah.
yeah.
And those are my thoughts.
Anyone else?
The
As
creek
I re-
bank.
One of the things that we had discussed previously is the pavilion, the draw with the beer garden. You know, we had the pop-up beer gardens, and it was a big draw for people.
Yes.
It appealed to a variety of people. While the disc golf course is very popular, there's a very small segment of people that would utilize it. And the pavilion with the playground, splash pad. I mean, a splash pad at Drexel Town Square gets a huge amount of activity there. It's just crazy sometimes. That's where I think our concentration should be. But with that, there's just not enough parking. So you almost have to expand on that parking, because with those pop-up beer tents, people were parking where they shouldn't be parking, and it was congested.
And as I said too, I wouldn't be afraid to piecemeal this. If anything, we can also see if we can just get a consultant to start actually doing the design process of this space. So not just with the beer garden, but how does that splash pad, that future splash pad, work with that, or the sand volleyball court, or the golf course? I mean, that's something that we could start really fleshing out. So that could also be another project.
So just my thoughts on the splash pad. I love the splash pad. It's expensive and we have one already. And I'm wondering, why would we want to compete with that? I feel like maybe we should just keep the splash pad at Drexel Town Square. You have enough amenities drawing to Avonshine. I think it might be better served if you just put in a regular playground. You kind of have to walk all the way to the skateboard side to get to a playground, but you have the other side where you have the pop-up beer garden, that if you had like a sand volleyball court or, the other ADA playground, I think that would be better served by the community versus the splash pad. And it's more budget friendly.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, when all the feedback was received, the splash pad was lumped in together as one topic with a pool. So it got a lot of attention and a lot of votes and a lot of talk. But a lot of people focused on, well, we already have a splash pad, so that must mean we're getting a pool there. And I would, yeah, there is, but I would really kind of echo Ann's points that if, we're doing if a splash pad's what's on the table, and we know that it is because of the space constraints and that, I'm not sure we want to compete with what we already have at Drexel Town Square and divide up where people are going to have that sort of amenity. But I do think focusing on the playground close to the pavilion would be a huge draw and a lot of interest to a lot of parents.
I echo those sentiments. I use the splash pad a lot. I don't think we need a second one. I like where it is. And I'd really like the idea of an ADA playground. I don't know how many of you have gone to Kayla's playground in Franklin, and I'm sure we're not planning on anything that elaborate, but that place is always packed.
Amazing. Yeah.
No, I agree with all your sentiments. I mean, the other thing I thought was really interesting in that in the master plan was the adult agility course. How unique is that? I mean, I honestly don't know of any. Maybe somebody else could let me know where one's at. But
used to be one in Chapel Hills when I was growing up. They kind of had these like little courses. I don't know, it was an 80s thing, I think, but I don't know. I just had this mental image of a bunch of drunk people from the beer garden now doing
Same, yeah.
I'm wondering about how that
put it too
Same
close.
here.
I'm just saying, I might be one of those people. I don't know, it might be a bad combination.
Got to make sure you have some really solid bounce mats.
Yeah.
That was part of my concern about even the splash pad near the beer garden, that could be some problems with it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
And I noticed they just did a concept drawing, but they had things fenced off, but adults are not going to obey that fence. So, yeah. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Should we try to see if we can get the common council on board, or maybe getting a consultant and start doing the drawing for the beer garden and get that started, since that is such a popular feature, and use that as the heart of that area, or
Yes.
start building the playground and the stuff around it.
There were some drawings made up for like conceptual drawings for that beer garden space and how it flowed into like potentially a children's playground or a splash pad or something, like a feature item for children to play and be active. So there were some conceptual drawings that were created.
Yeah.
That we kind of chose different features or things that we liked, along with like the entryway, and like some feature things, like if it was some artwork along the way, or it had the adult agility like layout to it too.
Okay.
So there's some work done. I just don't know how far it went.
Yeah, it sounded like it was just really a rough concept drawing, and but to take it to that next step, we probably would have to hire out, make sure that we get somebody to do some good engineering plans and get a solid cost estimate of what's going on for that, and then be able to take it forward. With a $2 million project, the only way I can see it getting done in somewhat of a timely fashion is by piecemealing it out. But we have to start somewhere. So if you guys are interested in that, or I know, I believe Ann mentioned the West Entry Drive, that's something that again, we don't necessarily have a concrete cost on this, but we can start fleshing out going that way. And if there's another project that interests you, you all, that we can start kind of heading forward into those three and see what pans out as we start doing our research and moving forward.
Lori, can I make you aware of one other thing down there that you might want to look into? That creek, the bank stabilization down there, got some inside turns that go near that baseball field, the left field. Yep. That is eroded away pretty good. So that's something that needs to be looked at too before that left field fence is in the creek.
Okay.
And that would take a lot of money to fix.
Are you saying that sounds like more of an emergency situation too?
Well, it's not an emergency situation, but it's just something that needs to be looked at, and the time frame of when that needs to be fixed, as opposed to some of these other things.
Okay. All right.
I think based on the evidence of the value of that baseball field, since it is one of the few competitive baseball fields we have, it would be pretty important for us to keep it playable as long as we can.
Yeah.
Especially if it is part of one of the later phases to update that baseball field. And we certainly wouldn't want to invest in any updates if we didn't even have the basic land preserved to keep a fence up.
Yeah. Okay.
Is anybody interested in, do we need a motion from the commission to bring forward a request of the council to approve anything moving forward? Master plan?
Not at this time. It's just more of, my understanding is that we really just need to start picking something to move forward to, and let's see how it pans out. And for me personally, I think we should pick at least 2 to 3 and see what we can start getting funding for. Possibly something, you know, lower end that we can move in a quicker time frame, and something a little bit more long term, but start moving forward, like hiring that consultant to see what we can do for a site plan for the pavilion. Well, it's something that I wanted to get on your minds, and I wasn't expecting a clear decision tonight. It was just something to start getting everyone's mind moving towards. But I'm hoping maybe the next meeting, just hearing what your suggestions are, we can possibly kind of prioritize, you know, the 2 or 3 projects to see what you would prefer to go for first, and then I'll see if I can start taking it to the mayor, the city council, and our other staff members, if everybody's okay with that direction.
Yes, thanks for bringing it to the table.
All right. So I just want to make sure I have this right. The bank stabilization, the West Entry Drive beautification project, and then the pavilion complex, in particular the beer garden, and then hopefully the other items will follow shortly afterwards.
I mean, essentially, Lori, we're saying phase 1. Phase 1 should become something that is, you know, we should start phase 1. I mean, that's basically what we're discussing here. Those exact items that you just outlined have already been lumped together as step 1. So, and I think that even through the conversation that we've had here, it seems to me that that they all have, you know, that was a good bundle, in that they all impact one another in such a way that it almost doesn't make sense to plan for one without the other. So, I mean, at this point, my suggestion would be for us to just go ahead and ask the council to move forward with, you know, funding someone to start the development. I mean, this has already been multiple years of planning, and we don't even have we don't even really have anything beyond concept. I think it's really time for us to request that we move beyond concepts, and maybe that's our role as commission right now, is to just kind of say, okay, the phases have already been decided. That was a year ago. Let's, you know, kind of move it along.
I just assume too that you guys probably would not want the additional trails as a priority right now, then, since there are already trails, and I wanted to make sure I heard everyone out before we move forward with anything. So, okay, well, let me start working my magic in the office and see what we can get people on board for, and see if I can start getting some sort of budget together, so we can get a consultant. I mean, that would be a good step forward. All right. Well, if anyone else has anything or anything they want in the next agenda. All right. Hearing none. Leah?
All right. I guess I'll, if there's no other issues, we can adjourn. Going once. All right. Then meeting has been adjourned. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you so much. Welcome, Nicole. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing you again. Thanks to our awesome staff for being here late at night and guiding us through. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
You too.
Thanks.